So the next power plants that are being built at different locations around the world are much bigger and are requiring less upfront investment. For example, the solar reserve Tonopah power tower system. This one is currently under construction, and this one produces 110 megawatt. So it delivers 5 times as much energy or electricity compared to the Hammer Solar I just shown you. That one was 20 megawatt, this one is 110 megawatt. So it delivers 5 times as much as electricity to only double the cost. So that's how you can see the cost curve is coming down. As more you build, as further down the cost will come. That's the same with photovoltaics. They also come down. If you see the last 18 months, they came down 50%. And so you see the central receiver is under construction. And how many mirrors do you think? How many heliostats? This one is by the way, this is the artist's impression. So how many heliostats do you think?
4,227.
Oh, wow, very good. More. Any other guesses? Yeah, go higher. 50? That's too much. There are 10,000. 10,000, yeah. And this one is the tower, currently under construction. And you can see how big it is, so you can tall it is. And you see how these cars are dwarfed by the size. And you can also, if you're interested, you can go on the Solar Reserve website. And the manager, construction manager, he talks you through the process, how this project is being built. The world solar thermal grows. So this is how much is currently under development. So mainly in the US, Spain and China. And this one, this total of 17.5 gigawatt, this is would be already enough to deliver more than 70% of the total electricity demand of Australia. Yes, I think.
Okay, that's okay for all the people around about the equator and so on, and that area, the hot countries. What's Northern Europe getting?
I just show you. You're jumping ahead. Yeah, this comes to the next slide. Okay. All right. So exactly, that's to your question. So if you're wondering, because if Australia had also good solar resources, yeah. So definitely, this one is this is the map from NASA, and it shows that Australia is one of the best solar resources in the world. So if you compare now here, Australia, and I mentioned the US, so it's mainly here in California, and I mentioned Spain. So see how dark yellow it is in Spain compared to here, really light yellow, the best direct normal irradiation per square meter. And if you compare it to China, definitely Australia is absolutely competitive because it is one of the best solar resources in the world. And this one here just shows some solar region chosen for the solar thermal plants. So if you now compare it here in Queensland, Long Reach, for instance, with Seville, and this is where I showed you the Hammer solar plant. Yeah, much better. It's higher. If you now compare it in Western Australia, Carnarvon, with the Mojave Desert in the US, definitely. So much better. And that's an Australian term I had to learn. More bang for your buck. So here you go. So we have a decision to make. So we can decide the next 30 years. This is the lifetime of usually of a power plant. So for every square meter of mirror we install, we would save 20 tons of coal. Or, put it another way, for every 1 square meter of mirror we are not going to install, we have to burn 20 tons of coal and putting 72 tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. 72 tons, that's for Victoria mainly because they're brown coal. Here in Queensland it's a bit less because we're using up the brown coal. The other key technology for the plan is wind power. So wind power is the most matured, technically available energy source. And the global investment increases 30% has increased 30% in the last decade, or 30% per year in the last decade. China has already 150 megawatt. It has a goal of 150 megawatt by 2020. Denmark will have 50% by 2020. So this one is already the target. That's not just their vision, that's the actual target. And Sweden is currently constructing 1100 Enercon turbine farm. And this one is a 7.5 megawatt wind turbine. This is the same turbine going to be used under the plan. And do you have any idea which state in Australia is very good in wind energy? Yes, and what's the percentage? What's your guess? What's 9. Not more. Any other guesses? 15, even more. 30%. 30%. And Australia has now 30% of their energy delivered from wind energy, which is already fantastic. So before we now look into the supply side, we have to look into the demand side. So what is actually our electricity demand here in Australia? So for the year 2010, the total electricity demand was 230 terawatt hours. It's alright if you don't know what a terawatt hour is. So, but that's a huge amount. So this one, under the plan, needs to be scaled up to include, I mentioned it already when I showed you the transport plan that's going to be released. So this one needs to be scaled up to include electrified transport, electrical heating, and all power needed for our homes, commerce and industry. So all the other processes which are happening at the moment in the industry, they would be electrified. And so the calculation has shown, so it would be scaled up for the year 2020, 325 terawatt hour. So the three main components of the plan is concentrated solar thermal power, wind power, and the upgraded electricity grid. If you look now into the solar regions, so they have been chosen because they have the best sun radiation. And so you can see, for instance, here in Queensland, up here, very long reach, Charleville, Roma, and I think there's also one in Collinsville, not shown here. And so the module going to be used would be a 220 megawatt solar power tower, and we would need 17 of those to create a solar region. So 17 of those solar plants, there's always a tower in the middle, would create a solar region. And we would need 12 of those solar region to deliver 60% of Australia's stationary energy. So then 60% could be delivered by solar thermal with storage. Remember, the storage is an important part, so we can deliver baseload renewable energy, also at night time when there's no sunshine, and also for the wind when there's no wind, so at least we have the storage, the heat storage. There have been lots of regional launches, here for instance in Kalgoorlie, and Roma and Charleville. They were very delighted to have a launch there because they see great potential for new jobs and regional development, and of course they know that it's sunny in Roma and Charleville. Probably most exciting region at the moment is Repower Port Augusta. So that's totally also a more specific plan has been developed for Port Augusta. Right now in Port Augusta there need to be 2 very old coal-fired power stations need to be replaced, and the Lord Mayor, she is really behind beyond zero emissions and to have the first solar thermal power plant being built there because her people are sick, so the lung cancer rate is double the figure of for Australia, and also respiratory diseases. So she is very keen to have the first solar thermal power plant being built there. And right now there has been an alliance being formed between Beyond Zero Emissions and Australian Young Youth Climate Coalition and the Council from Port Augusta, and they're really looking into opportunities to make that happen. I also, last week I had the chance to meet our minister, Craig Combay, so the Minister for Climate Change, Energy Efficiency, Industry and Innovation, and I spoke to him about the Beyond Zero Emissions Zero Carbon Australia plan, and in specific I asked him to take some money from the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. This is a 10 billion funding. Take some of the money and to invest it in the first solar thermal plant in Port Augusta. So in Port Augusta has been really also the Port Augusta Alliance. They're really pushing ahead, and they have already done now a vote, and they have already 2,500 people have already voted to have a solar thermal plant being built rather than gas, because the question is either solar thermal or gas. But gas would be still a detour, because it would just delay the process of really renewable energy, because gas still emits lots of carbon emission. And yes, and then no investment, true investment, would flow into solar and wind, because for the lifetime of a new gas plant of 30 years. So now looking into the wind regions, so here, closer again here to Queensland, there is Atherton. There are already quite many wind turbines up there at Atherton, and I have been there. There's that's right, Collinsville is a wind region. Collinsville wind region stands so. And the basic unit, as I mentioned before, would be a 7.5 megawatt Enercon turbine. That's the biggest one available worldwide. And we would need 330 of those to deliver a wind region, and would need 23 of those wind regions to deliver 40% of Australia's stationary energy. So to recap, so we have 60% coming from concentrated solar thermal with storage. We have 40% from large-scale wind farms, and with a small backup with existing hydro and on-site crop waste, on-site co-firing of biomass.